Welcome to Drinks Coach. Yes, it's another special edition of Drinks Coach here in a very, very sunny kitchen, not far away from Wimbledon. Now, thank you very much to Vida for supplying the wines for this shallow swan dive into Bulgarian wine. For those people who've been following my channel, you know I've done a couple of shows on Bulgaria before. I'm a massive fan of the wines. If you want to go look back, there'll be things I said there that I forgot to say here, so watch them all together. But Vida, vidawines.co.uk, are a company that are really specialising in kind of mining those last kind of King Solomon's jewel mines of wine, which are Eastern European countries, not really given the credit yet that they deserve. They're kind of making it more easy to understand. They're bringing wines in that otherwise probably were written in Cyrillic, for example. They're putting English labels on. They're searching for the great and the good of indigenous varieties. They're looking for wines that are great value, and in most cases also sustainable, ecological and biodynamic and organic, which is really lovely. Vida have their own label wine, which we're going to see 3 of here. So they're quite happy to stand up and be counted, shall we say. So I've chosen these wines because they pretty much cover Bulgaria, okay, and they also show a couple of the really important varieties. There are some other varieties which will come on in other shows, but to start with, let's start with this. This is a very, very popular white variety actually in Bulgaria, and this is from the Frasier Valley, 2016, and this is Sandansky Miskit. Now Miskit, as the name might suggest, is strongly, not loosely, quite strongly related to certain clones of Muscat, which is the oldest grape variety known to man. Somebody told me that it's mentioned in the Bible. I don't have the time to find it just now, but if it is, fantastic. But it is related to a variety which is a cross of Muscat, something else called Hamburger Muscat, which is very popular in Austria and certain parts of Germany. So, Sandansky Miskit, this is from, imagine Bulgaria is that shape, okay? It's this shape. You've got the Black Sea on this side, you've got Turkey down here, you've got Macedonia and Greece down here, right? This comes from Frasier Valley, which is this beautiful valley here, just north of northern Macedonia, as it's now called. The reason why this is such a special valley is it's continental, it's inland. It's got some steep sides, it's very beautiful, but it's very much seen as the prized wine region for a lot of grape varieties in the country of Bulgaria. What happens is, when the temperature goes down at night, after bathing in the glorious sunshine inland and mainland Eastern Europe, the vineyards can get up to 40 degrees centigrade, get lots and lots of sunshine, lots and lots of ripeness in the grapes. Then the cold air runs down the hills. We call this cold air drainage. It's like turning the air conditioning on, chills the grapes. So you end up with wines which have great extract, great flavour, but good acidity. So they age well, they're good with food, they're refreshing, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so let's try this. 2016. I'm thinking, whoa, that's a bit, 5 years old. I mean, how many people go to a supermarket these days and buy wine that's 5 years old? I mean, would you be a bit nervous? You'd be right to be, probably, because we're just not used to it, right? No reason to be, though, right? Because certain grape varieties have a very primary fruit when they're young, and as they age, if they're good grape varieties and they're from the right places, you get flavours you simply can't find anywhere else. A good example is something like New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, which is the darling of the world right now. It smells of pure gooseberries and pure passion fruit. Now, when I was making wine for a guy in France who also made Sauvignon Blanc, this was in Bordeaux, he said, why would you buy a wine that smelt of gooseberries when you can buy a bag of gooseberries for less than £1? He didn't see the sense in a wine, oh, it smells of gooseberries. That wasn't, to him, exciting in any way. What he wanted was a wine with complexity and personality, individuality, and ability to go with food. And what we've got here now is a wine that has beautifully started to kind of progress into the age of vinosity, where the wine is wine, right? It starts to have all sorts of aromatic components and floral components, some secondary characters, which will be maybe even just a faint hint of like almond, that kind of thing. But despite all that, it's still clinging on to this lovely, bright lemon rind character which Miskit has. 12.5% alcohol, so it hits the spot. It's not heavy, it's not alcoholic, which I think a lot of people believe many Eastern European white wines to be. I'd buy that, and it's £13.29, so it's a really, really solid wine, under 15 quid. Rare, unusual, under the Vida stamp, right? So that's delicious. Lovely. By the way, Vida, of course, people are probably thinking that we're living La Vida Loca right now. No, but Vida actually is the name of a castle in Bulgaria called Vida, and that's where the name of the company comes from. So it's not anything Spanish, right? Just so you know. Okay, going on to the second wine, we have this. Borowitzer. Borowitzer is one of the superstar white wine producers in Bulgaria. If I was to show you where he is on a map, this is Bulgaria again, the Frasier Valley down here. This area here is called the Thracian lands, and towards the Black Sea, towards the moderating influence of all that warm, sunny water, which kind of stops it being super cold at night, boiling hot in the day. It kind of stops white grape varieties from losing all their freshness. So, yeah, we've got that here. This is a wine which has been aged for 12 months in Bulgarian oak casks, which are much like Hungarian or Slavonian or French oak. This wine is a blend of Roussanne, Marsanne and Viognier. Now, if you've been paying attention on my channel, I don't know which episode it was, you're going to have to look it up. But if you look at the white wines of the Rhone Valley, I've talked about Côte Gironde Village and Côte Gironde White a lot, one of the great underrated white wines of France. These are the three this is the tribunal of greatness in Rhone white varieties. The best white wines, the most expensive white wines in the Rhone come from Hermitage, and they're made from a blend of Roussanne or Marsanne or one or the other. Further north, the most aromatic wines probably in France of Condrieu and Chateau Grier, one of the most expensive white wines in France. They're made from Viognier. So this is a blend, and actually, I won't be surprised once I've tasted it if this is a co-ferment, which is the way they deal with it in Rhone, where they actually pick the Marsanne, pick the Roussanne, pick the Viognier, and ferment it all together. So it splices together. There's more harmony. You don't get this like Lego-y three-step drink where you can taste all the varieties. You get this new super organism, which is made from all three. So, lovely colour. I always worry when I'm drinking Marsanne or Viognier when it's dark in colour. Californian examples, if they're not chilled, they're really oily and heavy and hard work. They almost taste like peanuts. Now, this wine clearly isn't like that. You can see that it's quite limpid in colour. It's light. What vintage wine? 2019, which was warm. I mean, it's always warm in Bulgaria, right? But 2019 particularly. Lovely nose. Really. Smells like preserved lemons, like Moroccan lemons, salted preserved lemons, and a lovely warm fruit, quince comes to mind. Maybe orange melon. Palate, first of all, opens up with some lovely vanilla-y oakiness, and then over the top of that you get this wonderful, fresh white peach and apricot flavour, which is what you expect from the wines of the Rhone. So an absolute corker. I think this has come from under 20 quid. Yeah, it's 1609. Nice wine. Going back to my dear friends Stoyan and Dillian from the wines that we had from last year, you'll see that we also recommended wines from him. Clearly, these guys are on a good wicket because I know it's given me flavours which new flavours in wine, which doesn't happen to me very often. It maybe happens once every couple of years, but here, every wine's something exciting and new. So here we go. This next one, this is from the Danubian Plain. If this is Bulgaria, Frasier Valley, Thrace, the Danubian Plain is the top half, which goes up into Romania in the corner, and Danube runs across the top of the country. And this is where most of the really fine, elegant white wines come from, and where most of the, for want of a better description, Burgundy lookalikes come from in Bulgaria. Bulgaria is capable of making some really quite fine Chardonnay in some years, and somebody's gone to a lot of effort here. In fact, no bragging, Golden Hands is the name of this wine. Yalovo Winery, Golden Hands Chardonnay, 2018. Just in case you're in any doubt, it says on the back, Bulgarian wine. Just like to say, winemakers, no need for the wax. You've got to put it on, we've got to take it off. It's not a fossil fuel, isn't it? Just give it to me open next time. Okay, right, so. Well. We're getting more of that sort of cooked lemon character. We are getting a very perfumed, fresh, new wood character, which isn't just your straightforward, vanilla-y, oaky character. There's something more. It's almost cedary, like the smell of fresh freshly furnitured chest of drawers. It also has a lovely nutty roast hazelnut character, which is common in Chardonnays that have been fermented and barrel fermented in barrel. Elegant, very perfumed. It almost tastes like there might be some Gewürz or muscat in there, which I don't think is that uncommon in wines from this region. There is some lovely floral fragrance coming off it. 20 quid, or just a short bit under, I think it's about 19 something. But that's what you pay for premium Chardonnay from Bulgaria. I think the exciting part is the indigenous varieties, personally, but it shows you that they're not just a one-trick pony. Moving on to this one. This is another Vida Estates wine. This is from Borowitzer. This is a grape variety called Gamza, Gamza, not Gamza. I've been told it's Gamza. As you can see, it's not very dark in colour, which is encouraging. I mean, in a country where the wines are really thick and rich and dark in most cases, this one's got a lovely pale colour. Why would that be? Well, the skins are pale and they're quite thin. It was called something else before, but this Gamza was a grape variety that came over from Hungary some 600 years ago, and is now a real kind of stalwart of the main varieties of Bulgaria. It's got a lovely nose of Maraska cherry. It's got like almost amaretto cherry stone note underneath, but it's got a lovely sour cranberry-ish, cherryish nose. In the mouth, it's bright and fresh. It just puts a smile on your face. Again, that sour cherry tang's coming through. It's like Italian maraschino cherries. Very, very attractive. Beautiful red wine to drink on its own. I imagine it could take kindly to a little bit of chilling. But if I was eating something like quite a rich fish, like sea bream or something, I might go for a red like this. Certainly be really, really nice with lighter hams and that kind of thing. Absolutely perfect with a platter of, your charcuterie and things like that, which is so common throughout Europe. Absolutely delicious. Moving on. The Gamza actually was from, I'll just say, the Danubian Plain. So again, Bulgaria, Stroma Valley, Thrace, Danubian Plain. Next wine is from the Thracian Valley, just down above Turkey. Very, very warm there. What's lovely about this wine is it's not 15% alcohol, it's 13%. That's rational. Okay, a lot of people are making wine so ripe now, I find them hard to drink. If it's low in alcohol, you can have a bit more, isn't that fair? And this wine is only 13% alcohol. This comes from a limited run. They only made 2,000 bottles of this. It's from the Thracian Valley. What vintage are we on now? 2011. 10 years old. 10 years old, and it's, wait for it, it's a bargain. £10.89. So under £11 for a 10-year-old Cabernet Sauvignon from a region that's known for Cabernet. It's, during the collectivization before 1991, when the Soviet states were still together, this was a powerhouse for pumping out Merlot and Cabernet Sauvignon into Russia. And some of those wines, I remember only paying £3 or £4 for, were spectacular. Nice colour. Very developed, as you'd expect, but not in a kind of oxidative way. It just smells mature and resolved and sure-footed. It's got a smell of smoked meat about it. A lovely, slightly perfumed floral character. But underneath all that is this taste of just soft, red fruits, juicy fruits like strawberries, raspberries. That's... I'd love to put that in a blind tasting with my friends. They'd never ever get where it's from. They'd certainly know it's Cabernet. This has got all of the classic triggers of Cabernet Sauvignon. Creme de cassis, blackcurrant, red fruit, whatever. It's got some nice tannin, but this wine, after 10 years, has lovely balance. It's still got fresh acidity. That's the cheapest wine here, and it's a real stunner, I have to say. Coming on to the last one. This is Sala Estate, only 2,000 bottles made of this, and this is another one that's brought in by Vida exclusively, and it's from the Danubian Plain, which I think is probably more inland, north of the Valley of Roses. I did open it, I was worried I hadn't opened the bottle. Look at that lovely colour. Now, north of Bulgaria is Romania. Well, Romania is north of Bulgaria. And Romania is really rather well known for growing Pinot Noir. Not necessarily the greatest Pinot Noirs ever made, but incredible value Pinot Noir. And since the 50s, they've been in a place called De Mare, which is basically a large oil field. They'd planted Pinot Noir there, and even when I was first starting in the wine trade, going back to the sort of early 90s, I was buying Pinot Noir for Waitrose from there. We were selling for £5, and it was remarkable value for money. But a few people have kind of elevated the game, they've taken it and run with it. But Bulgaria is not a place where you'd expect to find Pinot Noir. It's kind of, that's Romania's job kind of thing. It's really funny. If you go to Northwest Pacific in America, you've got Washington State making Cabernet, and you've got right next door, you've got Oregon making Pinot Noir. A bit like this, that Romania makes Pinot Noir and Bulgaria makes Cabernet. So a little bit of a curveball, having a Danubian Pinot Noir. I haven't tried much Pinot Noir from Bulgaria. Wow. Okay, it's a shade under £20, but it shows. This is the real thing. Floral, fruity, really lovely lifted creme de framboise and wild strawberries in a way, delicate acidity, clearly been aged in proper oak casks, but they do not dominate in any way. There's just a lovely soft polishing around the edges of what is lovely textured mouth-filling fruit. When I want a Pinot Noir, I want a Pinot Noir that feels like a duvet in the mouth. And they've got that right. Wow. Okay, fact. Best Pinot Noir I've ever tasted in Bulgaria. See you next time.